Good morning. It's Norma Cowie, and it is the last Wednesday of November. So we're going to be looking at the card reading for December because the next Wednesday, well, I think it's the third. And I find that if I start at the third, I get, I don't know, bamboozled maybe is a good word for that. So it's like where I like to have it done and looked at. And this December looks very, very interesting. So it will be interesting to see how it will be. So we're going to start off, first of all, with the first symbol. And I figured this is like from the first till around the third conflict. One man holds the swords, which are problems, over on his arm. He's already had a fight, two are leaving, everything. Look at the sky. A lot of this symbol has to do with the sky. Just a second, I'm going to see if I push this little bit of hair down. I'm looking funny. Reminds me of that kid in one of the shows they used to have where he always had a little piece of hair sticking out. Anyway, so this is the beginning. So there's a little bit of conflict here. Now, I can't really tell what it is because it feels political, but we'll see which way it goes. So we have conflict, but then it's like we move into the Four of Cups. Now, the thing about the Four of Cups is that the arms and the legs are totally folded, so no one's really paying too much attention except to what is. Now, I felt that this probably was from about the 4th to the 6th. It's sort of like from the conflict, very verbal, very outward. It kind of goes in closed. People making offers maybe feels more back room than front room, so to speak. So people talking, but no one's really open to listen. Everybody, you know how sometimes in an argument or discussion, you kind of draw your quarters and there you go. That's what you're going to hold on to. That's what it feels like here. And it's so to me, from the first week, pretty well, the first 6 days, it's not very communicative. Not a lot of what communication will go on anywhere, and it could be in your home, it could be in your work, it could be in the people that are governing the state and the provinces, where I'm looking at Canada and the US. But it's real. I feel that it's really kind of stalemated, So then, as we move on, and from about the 7th to the 11th, we have our first attitude card of the Page of Pentacles. Money, business affairs, etc. But you see, with the pages, they're always caught up with what's happening and what's going on. And consequently, what takes place here is that they're so caught up in what they're wanting or planning, especially around monies, they're not seeing the bigger picture. And that's the whole thing around pages. Pages are I call them the attitude cards. This is how you would think, feel, and respond the most often. Conditions you can change pretty quickly. The higher arcana, which we're coming up to next, is much more philosophical. But it's like with this page, I always feel that he's so caught up in the mundane, he doesn't see the bigger picture at all. So to me, it's a very soggy, very stoic, soggy beginning of December. It's almost like people are taking their stands, and we know that the U.S. has a change of government. Canada's having its own complications as well, but it's like everyone's making their stand as to what, when, where, and how. And so then, as we move from the 12th to the 14th, the death symbol. Now, the death symbol to me is one of the ones that I like to see around because it means progress. It means whatever the war has been, whatever has been the problem, whatever has been the fight, you might say, of whatever kind, you're moving beyond it. the symbolism in here is absolutely brilliant. You've got a king prostrated on the ground, his crown off his head. You've got a religious man bowing down to the knight who's passing, and you've got a maiden and a child. And there's obviously been, oh, and a king lying down there, right? The king's down there. There's obviously been a fight. There's obviously been dissension, and now he's coming supreme. This is one of the big change symbols that goes on in a person's life. There are several of them where they talk about leaving the past behind and moving into newness. This is one of the big ones for this, because you're coming out of some form of strife, some form of non-reconciliation. Oh, and the one thing I should point out, if you're not familiar with the tarot, is that in the mountain in the background where you're heading is two pillars and the sun. So you're heading in the right direction. It's just that you're coming out of the battle. You're coming out of the war zone, so to speak. And now you're settling into the direction that you want to go. And so now what we're looking at is from around the 15th to 17th, and there is the high priestess. Now remember that in the two towers that we saw in the distance and the death symbol, here we are again. This to me always represents choice. We get to choose. We get to choose, do we stay where we are? It's a very spiritual card, actually. It's about commitment or opening up to commitment to your spiritual growth, processing, etc. And there's a lot of emotion. It's about how do we balance emotion with our intellect. Very important part, which a lot of people overlook. Some people run on emotion. Some people run on their mental ability. We need a balance. And that's one of the things I found in the energy releasing work, is that often it's not balanced at all. One person is one way or another, but we need accessibility to the emotion. We need accessibility to what the mind is saying. So we have a common goal here, and that is represented in this crescent moon wrapped and hooked into her veil, like clothing, I guess you could say. Behind her, the curtain is of pomegranates and palm trees, which is male and female. This is about balance, being balanced. And to me, when I see the death symbol coming into this, shows a striving for balance, a striving for it, a desire for it, a commitment to it, deciding the direction. This is the direction we're going in. This is the direction that we're going to create. So as we move into around the 18th or the 23rd, change. So quick. This is a lot of change in this reading, actually. Not super obvious, but there. This is the Eight of Cups. And he's leaving behind, moving forward. This seems to be the main, to me, the main message in this January is about letting go of the past and moving into the future. Here, the man is strong, dressed in red, which is energy, leaving behind him the good and the bad, we'll say. Things we've liked, things we don't like. And then that's because, by the way, that's a 5, which is sad. And over here is 3, which is great. So it's like we've got both. We're leaving that. We're moving out into the unknown, strong, even in the moon, sun element in the sky. It's like a moon with the sun coming behind. So again, movement out of the old. So I would look for all sorts of shifts and changes around this, some around the death symbol, which would be around the 12th, 14th, but here between the 18th and 23rd, much more, like it's not as perhaps as deep, but more. To me, it's more. And I rather like the transition, actually, as it's moving, because it moves into the wonderful Hermit. That means we're sitting and taking a look. We're not making assessments. We're not making judgments. We're taking a look. We're figuring out we have to assert there's a number nine, and nine encompasses all things. The number nine always encompasses everything. So this is where you get to sort of step back and you take a look and see what's going on, what's happening, what's doing. Now I have this down from around the 24th to the 27th. So we're beginning to get deeper and deeper into the January element here. I always think too, when I see the hermit, it reminds me of the answer lies within. One of the little comments I quite often say is, we know our own answers, we don't like them, but we know our own answers. And the hermit is one where we can sit back and kind of get that perspective a lot. Then everything shifts and changes. Right around the 28th, 29th, right? Like 28, from the 20, even maybe the 27th through to the 30th. 31st actually is in January. First of all, we have the emperor, stubborn, set, my way or the highway. You do as you're told. I'm not compromising. So there's a very strong, non-compromising energy that's going to come out of that, which will lead, and this leads us right to the end of the January, where basically, I don't know, this is a danger time to me. I didn't look further because we're not into January yet, but this really to me is a danger zone. As you can see, a streak of lightning hits the castle, knocks the whole element off. There's some very good symbology in here regarding numbers and regarding how miniature. These little, I'm going to put it very close, we call them yards of light. It starts on this, on the other side there, and it goes up. And what happens is that those are the 22 steps of the higher arcana. You're being thrusted out. The danger here is this guy here has still got his crown, so he's still attached, which is being thrust off here. So he's falling away from the way back or the way to recreate. This one over on the other side has left his crown go, and he's embracing. And when you know the numbers, there's one little yard of light here, which would be number one, because there's 22 of these. Number one, which is the magician, which is all things are possible. That this would fall right at the end of December as we're crossing into a new year, there's a lot of things going to go on in December. A lot of them won't be visible. They'll be under a little bit underhand in a way, behind closed doors. We're behind closed doors trying to figure this out. A lot of emotion, a lot of upheaval, but at the same time making it look like there is none. But stubborn, set, this is the way, the old saying, my way or the highway. There's that in several of these. But that tower being right at the end of the year, because I haven't looked at January, so I don't know. But to me, it's about, where are you? Are you trying to hold on to the old ideas and old concepts, or are you going to let go? The importance of letting go here is going to be incredibly important. You got to rebuild. Now, when we look at this, what we see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 higher arcana cards out of 9 symbols. You have one, what I call attitude card, and you have 3 regular little cards, 2 of them being cups, which is the emotionality, the feeling of life. But these higher arcana cards are all, well, the hermit has a bit of reasoning in it, but the rest are all kind of blocking. They're all kind of saying a little bit, this is my way. Now, the high priestess is good. I like, because there is choice. You make a choice here. Do you choose? And it's more of a spiritual thing. Don't we choose the higher road or not? But this is going to be an interesting month for everybody. Sometimes, I've seen a lot happening in the last few months, which hasn't always pleased me personally. But this one is a little bit like I'm looking at it going, what is this going to bring? It builds up all month to this last bit of December. Well, it'll be interesting to watch what's going to happen when we get to January, at the beginning of January, because I want to see what's going to follow this for sure. Because I feel like I've read half the book. No, I haven't read the other half yet, and I don't. I mean, part of me wants to just go ahead right now and look. But the point is that's not really what this is about. This is about looking at the symbology and see some of the intricacies that are happening as the month goes by. And people, it's not they're not as open as I like to see. Actually, when I look at it that way, there's some symbols here wanting to move on, but people have a tendency to want to move on their way. you know I'm right, I'm going to go this way. Still choices to be made, though. A lot about leaving the old, listening to self, and not being stubborn. I don't like these last two symbols in this, for the being the end of the year, and they're very stubborn and set, and as I say, my way or the highway, very definitely. And then everything bursts open. Now, how that's going to burst open, I don't know. But if I was to look in my psychic eye, it's like it's a bit like a tomato or a plum or something, where here we have this, and then it's kind of smashed and opens up, and all these seeds, all these little bits spill out. And now, how do we put that all together? I guess we have to wait till January till we see. So I trust you enjoy this journey. It's not my favorite, but this last 6 months of this year has not been an easy time period. There's been a lot of up and downs and in and outs. And as we've gone through, it's been an interesting way of looking at it and seeing it. But to me, it's well, it's always interesting to wait to see what exactly happens. Some of these things are behind closed doors, so we never ever know or hear. We can only feel, you might say, the wave tide that comes out of those meetings, or solutions, or figuring out. We're not part. The majority of us are not part of those things, but the awareness is there. I just feel here that there's change, no doubt about it, big change, but it doesn't flow, excuse me, easily in a change. And that's like our own personal lives when they go through change. So it's very important, I think, to really notice and be aware when some of these dates that come through, especially towards the end of the month, where you feel some things are really getting more, what would you call it, hard-nosed. This is how it is. This is how it's going to be, no matter what. And that's going to spill out. There's going to be a reaction, no doubt, about that, which is what happens. I just want to thank you. I'm just glad. I'm just trusting my life. It doesn't look like that towards the end of this year. I've had enough ups and downs this year. I will know by the end, and we've still got several weeks to go yet here, and I will share for sure when I begin to do my own looking at next year what I get, because I definitely want a new what would be the word this year. Anyway, this year's been tough for me, but it's it's coming right, which is good. Secondly, I just want to say, and I want to mention Karen B is here this morning, and she says, good morning. And I agree with you totally. Wonderful. It's always nice to have someone agree with you. Sometimes I feel I'm talking to the wind, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Karen. Now, today is Wednesday. So Sunday, I will be back with my Sunday thought. Now, it's a small, about 10 minutes, maybe sometimes I go a little over that, just to give you a thought to think about, because it is Sunday, and Sunday traditionally has been the day when we think of bigger things. And then on Monday nights, I do mental mind treatment, and that's a type of an alternative prayer where I add my psychic impressions. So, I enjoy these three. And as who knows what's going to happen in 2025. I had to think of it that way, isn't it? 2025. It's an 8-year, I believe. So it's power year for sure for all of us. And we can move forward. But yeah, I've got some plans, but I'm just waiting for a little bit longer in relation to my health. And see how I croaked on that one? Sometimes my voice tells me, don't go saying something that's not going to actually happen. So excuse me here, because I'm going to ring off. Back Sunday, back again Monday night, and back again next Wednesday morning. You have a great day. Enjoy, and just think about how are you going to react to when things come, maybe not exactly the way you want them, from a perspective of where we don't have any power. Because when we're looking at two countries that are working or not working together, energies can be really, really interesting. Wishing you well. Have a great weekend coming up, and everything else. And I'll talk to you again on Sunday. Blessings. Bye now.